All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and call us to order at 7:05 Eastern PM. Mr. Secretary, would you mind doing roll call for us?
Yes, actually, Madam Chair, if you could do that one more time, I'll start the recording. I like to
Oh,
start it.
yep,
Correct.
no problem.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, I'm going to call us to order at 7:05 Eastern PM. When you are ready, if you wouldn't mind taking roll.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, you are present. Mr. Rutherford, Mr. Redpath,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Here.
Mr. Bost,
Here.
Mr. Nikela, Mr. Vinson, Ms. Yanuskavich, she drop off by accident.
She's on the call.
Oh,
Ms.
I'm here.
Yanuskavich?
My
There we go.
there we go.
is bad. So this might happen again.
Mr. Heyman, Mr. Garcia, Mr. McGee, Mr. Nana, Mr. Dar,
Present.
Ms. Hayes notified that she would be absent. Mr. Dassing,
I don't.
Here.
Mr. Ford, still giving public comment. Mr. Chatterton,
Present.
Mr. Shahan, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Hirsch, Mr. Thompson,
Present.
I am present. Mr. Bracco, Mr. Weir,
Yep, can't stay long, but I'm here.
okay. Madam Chair, it appears that we have quorum of the executive committee. We're missing two members, Mr. Redpath, and I'm sorry, Mr. Rutherford and Mr. Ford.
All right. How many executive committee members do we have?
We currently have 6 members. There's one vacancy on the executive committee, so quorum would be
So
4.
we have 4 people. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr. Redpath, I can turn it over to you if you want to present the budget.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. The budget. Um, could I ask, could you share it, Mr. Malagon?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to make a comment. I've been through this project many times over the years, mainly as more often than not, just as as an at-large member of the Libertarian National Committee. Sometimes a long time has been spent on the budget, and it is certainly an important document for the governance of the Libertarian National Committee and the Libertarian Party. But as we go through this, I think it's always good to bear in mind that the budget can be amended by the LNC at any time. And as a matter of fact, we'll be amending the LNC budget. I'm going to ask the chair to put on the agenda the budget amendment for 2024. We need to bring into compliance with the policy manual the relationship between budget expenses and actual expenses for 2024, and it will be there will be a decrease in overall budgeted expenses because our expenses have been running below budget for calendar year 2024. But that's a separate issue that'll come up at the Providence meeting. But this was handled. We've had meetings, several informal meetings between the chair, Kathy Yanuskavich, Hannah Kennedy, Patrick Mitchell, who's the assistant treasurer. I've been there. Trying to think if there's anybody else I'm forgetting right now. I apologize if there is, but in any event, we have met several times over the last month or so to shape this budget. The expenses were largely worked upon by Hannah Kennedy, and I will ask Hannah to talk about her thinking behind the expenses. Of course, we start from where we have stood in 2024. There are going to be expenses that are going to go forward and be very much the same, maybe a little higher in 2025 versus 2024. There are other expenses, such as ballot access, that are probably going to be quite a bit less given the 4-year political cycle. But if it's okay right now, Hannah, would you like to speak to your thinking behind the expenses, and then I will address revenues after that? Is that going to be okay with you, Hannah?
Is,
Really quickly, before Mr. Ford joined us at 7:10 p.m. So now we have 5 seated members of the executive committee.
okay, so I texted with Ms. Kennedy and she is listening in, but she's at a location where she cannot speak. But if there's any specific questions, we can do this by text.
Okay. Well, what I would say is this, is that I think we worked off the 2024 budget, and anybody else who's been on these informal calls, please speak up. There are certain raises. There's been a raise for one person that's been built into these numbers. There are certain going beyond specifics on that. Perhaps we would want to go into
Yeah, that's for
executive session.
that's for executive session.
Right. So, in any event, but with respect, I would say this, that with ballot access, we have done about $100,000 for ballot access. Maybe it was 90,000. We had talked 100. Pardon me here. What was it, 90 or 100 that we actually went with? Got to scroll up to that.
We went with 90.
We went with 90. Okay. All right. So in any event, I see, did I send out the wrong? I'm looking right now at, correction. Okay. It's 90. Okay. It's been put into the ballot access fundraising expense. That line item I would say that should go, that ought to be transferred into 7,000-86. Probably ballot access petitioning expense. That'll be one that should go to a different line. Couldn't find it there for a second. But we've got 4 states where we can petition right now. Arkansas, Maryland, North Dakota, and New Mexico. I think that 2 of those states, Arkansas and Maryland, are definitely deserving, and we need to have discussions regarding North Dakota and New Mexico. But we talked about the ballot access being roughly 100. We've knocked it down to $90,000 on ballot access fundraising expense. The other figures in here are basically a continuation of the expenses that are needed for a minimally functioning Libertarian National Committee, and have been based on 2024 expenses with some particular amendments. Kathy, do you have anything to add to this, to the discussion of the expenses?
Well, I'd like to just start with just a little bit of perspective. This budget is a balanced budget of 1,120,000. In the 2024 budget, we passed December of last year was 1,982,000. So we have not met our revenue goals. Expenses have been adjusted in 2024 And we project that we will finish the year at 1.5 million. Now that number could increase depending on the Kennedy Victory Fund numbers, which are incredibly hard to estimate. So that is 400,000 less than the budgeted amount for the budget that we passed in 2024. And that is even considering the 214 of the Kennedy Victory Fund. So I think that we are right, that 1,120,000, it is a fairly safe number, and we can always increase our budget if we have, if we are in a position to do so. The expenses are bare bones, nothing new is added in there. And there's a little bit more money for staff initiative that will be coming up. Ms. Kennedy can speak to that in Rhode Island to the full LNC. The expense numbers are just pretty much based on our experience, our actual numbers for 2024. There is money in there for Freedom Fest again this year, as well as some travel for 2 staff members.
Okay, well, thank you very much. With respect to the revenues, leaving aside the commissions from the Kennedy Victory Fund, for 9 months this year through October month end, we have been averaging revenue. The LNC has been averaging revenue ballpark $84,000 per month on average. There were some declining months from May to September, but October was up substantially over September. And it was about $98,000, again, excluding the commissions on the Kennedy Victory Fund. I have looked to the history, of course, regarding percentage fall off of revenues in the last 4 years after presidential election years. Every year has seen a revenue fall off for the LNC from the presidential election year. By my calculation, it's been as low as the decline has been as low as 10%. It's been as high as 35%. I think the others were, I believe, minus 15% and minus 32%. Given that we are coming off a 2024 base, so to speak, that is down from recent presidential election years. It was our thinking that something along the lines of a 10% or slightly more decline off of revenues, again, ignoring the joint fundraising agreement, would be appropriate here, which would be ballpark $75,000 per month. And that's what we have budgeted in here is $75K per month times 12 is $900,000. It's tough to say exactly, what the ebbs and flows are over the years. It is an even distribution across the 12 months. The wild card here is account 4820, the joint fundraising agreement, which has a total of $220,000. It's hard to say exactly what's going to happen here. Once we get into the new year, there will be people who will donate to the Kennedy, to Team Kennedy or Kennedy PAC. People will have a fresh chance to donate once we turn the calendar on to 2025. So we have been, I think these numbers could prove to be conservative in terms of commissions on the JFA. I just budgeted out, I did these numbers, 50,000 in January, declining to 40, 30, 20, 10,000 in May, and then 10,000 thereafter. But I think it's a real wild card as to what is going to happen here. It's been the revenue on the commissions for August, September, and October combined. Well, sequentially, they were $97,000, $66,000, and $39,000 August, September, October. So, I would say that the 220 is I don't know. It's the best estimate right now, and if anything, it's probably on the conservative side. It's probably on the conservative side on the potential for commissions to be earned by the LNC from the joint fundraising agreement. So that comes to the 1,120,000. The expenses, including depreciation expense, which of course is a non-cash item, 1,120,000 on the expense side, and that's where things stand. So I would move, if there's a motion here, Mr. Malagon, I gave you that language earlier. I guess I would move to for the LNC, excuse me, for the executive committee to propose this budget, unless amended, to the Libertarian National Committee for its consideration in budgeting for 2025.
Okay. Needs a second.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? I see Mr. Ford joined us. Has Mr. Rutherford joined us yet?
He is not, Madam Chair.
Mr. Redpath, did you hear back from him?
Let me check my phone. Well, Paul, no, I did not.
Okay. Does anyone on the LNC have questions for us? Mr. Ford, you are very garbled. Garble.
No, I have no questions.
Gotcha. Okay, if there's no questions, we can go to a vote, and keep in mind this is going to get presented to the LNC at our in-person meeting in Rhode Island. So if you come up with a question later, you can always revisit it then.
But we will be sending this out ahead of time, correct, Madam Chair?
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll pass it over to our secretary to take the roll call.
Currently, Madam Chair, we'll do it in alphabetical order by first name. Mr. Watkins, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Miscavige,
Yes.
Rutherford is not here. Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Redpath.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the vote is 4 to 0 to 0 to 1. Do you wish to cast a vote?
No, chair's not voting, doesn't have to. All right, the motion passes. All done. And that concludes our executive committee meeting.
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you. Needs a second.
Second.
All right. Hearing no objections, going once, going twice. We are adjourned. I'll see you all in Rhode Island.
Thank you.